So we recently celebrated International Literacy Day, but what is the state of literacy in the country, Ghana? As you saw from that report, there's a whole lot that we ought to be doing that we are not doing, a whole lot that ought to be tackled that we've not necessarily tackled in the best way possible. Well, joining us for a conversation as we get on this matter, all the way from KJB, well, we're coming back to Accra and spreading our tentacles nationally. We have Divine Pe in the studio. He is Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch. Divine, thank you for joining the conversation.
Benjamin.
We also have Dr. Peter Anti joining the conversation. He is Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. And then we have Emmanuel Tim, Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency, and then Richmond Edujemfi, Adult Literacy Manager, Engage Africa. Let me just say a very good morning to you, our guests on Zoom and likely via the phone lines as well. If you can hear me, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Benjamin.
Whom am I hearing?
Richmond.
Okay. I can't see all of you, so I have to be sure
Okay.
as we go.
So,
Richmond Edujemfi. Okay.
Edujemfi, yes, please.
All right. Emmanuel and Tim.
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Okay. All right. A very good morning to you too. Do we have Dr. Peter Anti yet? Not yet. Okay. All right. So I'll start with you. Let me start with you, Richmond, especially as you are an adult literacy manager for Engage Africa.
Engage in Africa?
Yes. When you look at the latest International Literacy Day and what emerged from KJB in the OT region, what are your major takeaways in terms of literacy in Ghana?
Okay, Benjamin, thank you for that wonderful question. Good morning once again to our listeners and viewers. Literacy, I think I would have to build it from the quote that Kofi Annan once said, that literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. I think what happened in KJB, I think is a good step, because the theme for the Literacy Day was to promote literacy for sustainable and peaceful societies in a changing world. So what happened there, I think I'm hopeful that henceforth we will take literacy seriously, because as Engage now, we know that a lot of organizations and institutions, I think they targeted our case, but we saw that the adults were left behind. So that was the reason why we chose to tackle the elders or the adults in our society. And I'm hopeful that things will be done right. And as our parents are educated, automatically, they will help their kids or their children to also educate themselves. So I'm hopeful that what happened in KJB will go a long way into changing our world.
Okay. I'll throw the same question to all of you. So for you, Richmond, as well, for you, Emmanuel, I beg your pardon. Emmanuel, what's your take on this?
Yes.
Mr. Ntim? Okay, so I hear there's a glitch with his connection. We'll come back into the studio. Divine.
Ben.
On the back of what happened International Literacy Day, what are your key takeaways? And for you, from where you sit, Africa Education Watch, what is the state of literacy in Ghana?
All right. Thank you, Ben, and good morning to your viewers. Ghana Statistical Service has given us the indication that for the last decade, we have seen some improvements when it comes to both adult literacy and then that of the youth literacy. Notwithstanding, when it comes to the part of children, especially those in a primary school level, we still have significant improvement that we need to build on. Because even if you closely look at the 2021 results of the National Standard Test, it tells us that on average, we're having about 54 of the P4 children that took the examination, the NST, having the minimum proficiency in literacy. But even if you disaggregate the data further, you can even see in some regions over 90% of children not having the basic skill when it comes to literacy. So yes, despite the fact that we have to celebrate the progress we've made over the years, we still have ways to go, but I'm very happy that we are seeing some levels of commitment to address the situation at the school level and then also outside the school level. And when I mean the school level, interventions such as the Gallup differentiated learning and then the transition to learning program that is being implemented at KG to P3 level, and then also outside the school level we are seeing the complementary basic education and then adult literacy program being delivered by the Complementary Education Agency to tackle some issues of literacy in the country. So yeah, the progress, we celebrate that, and also we need to celebrate the interventions being made by our government.
Right, the interventions being made by government. Which one of those interventions do you feel have actually had an impact as far as literacy is concerned?
Okay, the transition to English has been one of the programs that has improved literacy at the school level.
When you say the transition to English,
it's a program that's specially designed to equip teachers at the KG to P3 level with the skill to help learners acquire the basic literacy skills. So that has been running since 2018. I think it was launched in 2018, or if I'm not mistaken, or 2021. Yeah, so that is a program that is running. And then also the Ghana Accountability and Learning Outcome Program, which also is supposed to resource teachers and at the same time help teachers acquire the skill of differentiated learning. What that means is that you don't teach the students as a class, as a whole class, but you disaggregate them based on their performance in the classroom. If somebody can read and somebody cannot read, or somebody is at the basic level of reading, you need to regroup them based on their ability and teach them according to their ability. So teachers have received that training. What we need to do is to ensure fidelity of implementation of that program. And then the most critical one for me is the complementary basic education, which is providing 9 months accelerated learning for children that are age 8 to 14 to acquire basic literacy and numeracy skills for them to be transitioned to the regular school system. And that particular program over the years at least has helped 500,000 children to transition to the basic education, the formal education system. And tracer study on them shows that those that have transited to the formal education system, 90% of them are doing well when it comes to literacy. So the complementary basic education basically is a program that tackles children that are out of school. You know, currently we have 1 million children that have never been to school before, and then 400,000 that have been to school but have dropped out. So the complementary basic education targets such children who are outside the formal education system, give them the basic functional literacy skills and numeracy skills that they need to acquire. Within 9 months, once they acquire that, they are transited to the formal education system, then they continue with their education progression. And that particular program has also proven to be successful so far.
All right. Let me come now to Emmanuel in Tim. Emmanuel, can you hear me now? Oh, okay. All right. So we'll keep the conversation within the circles of Divine and Richmond. Now, there is a general acknowledgement, Richmond, when it comes to the subject matter that we're discussing, that there are crucial problems. In fact, looking at what the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, Complementary Education Agency, and Engage Now Africa has been saying, no one must be left behind in education in the changing global community. But the question is, what are the factors resulting in some of our population, those who ought to be getting the right literacy skills, not getting them? I've seen report upon report in terms of literacy in Ghana, the West African sub-region, among others. And it doesn't appear that we are making the most inroads that we could make. If you look at the last few years and you look at now, we've not come really far, have we?
Okay. So, Benjamin, that is true. That has been our worry. I think especially when you go to the rural areas, it's really sad. I think a lot of them even have the desire to go to school, but due to no fault of theirs, they are still home. I think most of them, especially the rural areas, is financial, but thanks to the free education. But I still don't know the reason why most of them are still at home, especially the kids. And this boils down to the fact that the parents themselves growing up never went to school. So some of them don't know the importance of education. That is the reason why, regardless the free education, they still don't allow their children to go to school. So I feel the factor some will be financial, but as I said, I don't think that is the number one challenge that we're facing now. So if they get to know the importance of education, then I assure you the parents will allow their kids to go to school. That is why I said in Engage Now Africa, these are some of the things we considered, because we know that everyone wants his child to go to school. But if the parent himself is not educated or doesn't know the importance of education, it becomes so hard to allow the kids to do so. So introducing the adult literacy program somewhere in 2014, because Engage Now is an NGO anyway. So introducing that and going to the marginalized areas, the rural areas, to empower them with these skills. We saw that, yes, they are now even allowing their children to go to school, because now the parents themselves can read, they can write, and they can assist their kids even in their homework when they can, unlike before. So I think one of the factors is to continue to promote literacy, even to the vulnerable, wherever they may be, in the north, in the wherever, whichever village, we find people there. Education must get to them, and we should help them with infrastructures so that the kids can go to school. We should build more schools, because once we visited Upper East, and that is one of the projects Engage Now does. We build schools for children, and especially we do that up north. And you could see the distance that children had to, just walk before they could go to school. So schools should be accessible to them. I think that is one thing that we lack as a country. So they should have easy access to education, to schools, so that it will be easier for the kids walking to school and coming home. And that is some of the things we are helping to, help governments even close that gap. And we are doing all that we can to make sure that we will do our part. But as I said earlier, the most important thing is to promote this and make that awareness to parents how important education is, so that they can also make their children, go to school. Because when they do, that's the only way they can become self-reliant. It's only education that can make us free. And we want them to rise above extreme poverty. And I think these factors can be overcome when parents are aware of the importance of education, and the government do their part. Stakeholders also help do their part to make education more accessible to the children.
Right, and of course, education is crucial in all of this, in terms of being able to navigate their way through the turbulent waters of life, and of course, whatever income they are going to get in future, it will be impacted. Let me bring in Emmanuel and Tim now. Emmanuel, can you hear me now?
Hey.
Hello, Emma.
Yeah, I can hear you, please.
Great. Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency. For you, quickly, what is your take on the state of literacy? Is it reflective of what the Ghana Statistical Service tells us? And then again, on the back of the latest developments, well, government has done quite a bit, but the results don't seem to be where we would want them to be. What do you think are the factors?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to apologize for I had a network challenge, so I was unable to join initially for this discussion. I think I would want to start from this here. Yes, literacy, like my previous panelists indicated, the literacy rate in Ghana is a serious thing that we as a country or as agency under the Ministry of Education, we need to put agency into this issue. Because looking at the statistics, it's like the current statistics from Population and Housing Census 2021 indicates that 44.8% cannot read or write in any language. So this is a serious issue that we think. But we as complementary education agency, we believe that for somebody to enhance in the livelihood, there's the need for the person to acquire certain basic skills when it comes to literacy and numeracy. So going back and reflecting on what the recent activity that has to do with International Literacy Day, we want to use that platform to advocate that, yes, though the government as an agency through the Ministry of Education and as an agency, we are doing our best, but we think that, yes, there is the need to still bridge the gap. As we speak, per the current statistics, we as an agency, a government agency, we were able to implement only 45,000 of such people only for this year. And we think that going into the following distance, we need other partners to come in so that we can bridge this gap, because we know that is something that we need to advocate. So that is it. And going forward, we are coming out with a lot of activities, because now the world is changing, and like Education Minister will always that we are in the 21st century. So in this regard, we think that as an agency, we need to come up with strategies to get all these people on board, because looking at the resources that's available, if we want to break this gap, then trust me, it will be very difficult for us to say that even in the next 20 years, if we can break this gap. So what we are intend doing is to liaise with other agencies like Centros and other things to have all these literacy programs, both online and offline, to introduce this kind of, let's say, social media and all other means so that people can access this literacy. So yeah, going forward, I think that we need to advocate. We need to advocate, because if we really want, though the government we are doing our best to make sure that we break the gap, but at the end of the day, looking at the resources that is also available to us, make it impossible for us to break the gap. So that is why we took that platform to advocate that, yes, we want other institutions like Engage Now, World Vision, and all those people within the complementary education space to come on board. We think together on a round table and see the way forward to break the gap.
All right. Coming into the studio, before we even get into the formal and non-formal, sectors, and those who have received formal education, those who haven't received formal education, and what we can possibly do for them, there are adult, literacy institutions in other countries that take care of these matters. What is the state of that? But before we get into that, it always, beats my imagination. A country I have been in, Cuba, okay, within a year or two, they were able to transform their educational literacy levels to over 90%, and they've maintained that close to 100% over the years. It's always said that you don't reinvent the wheel. What someone has done before, you can always learn from the positives, of course, in your context, and apply. Why do you feel we're still lagging behind, Divine?
All right, it's true. We are in a global world, and what we need to do is to learn best practices of what people are doing and working for them. We need to learn that. And I'm pretty sure that we've learned series of things from other countries, try to bring them into our country to transform the delivery of education. The challenge has always been the sustainability of such interventions. So you see a program that runs for a period of time to help students to learn and read. Resources are mobilized and made available. Teachers are trained, capacity built. And then if the program is running for, say, 5 years, at the end of the 5 years, it means that the program has also come to an end because there is no mechanism to sustain that program and ensure that the program continues beyond its lifespan of implementation. So for me, I believe we are learning from what others are doing, and we try as much as possible to bring them to our space. But however, once the program lifespan ends, it means the end of such interventions. And we need to get back to address such challenge to ensure that if we have learned best practices from elsewhere and have integrated them in our educational space to help our learners to read, it's also pretty sure that we just make ensure that beyond the 5 years, whatever time we have allocated to it, the program is able to run across that. So that again brings me to the point of fidelity of implementation of such programs, so that we implement the programs well and then also ensure their sustainability. Beyond that, it also borders on issues of investments, financial investments, of course, because if you are trying to address literacy issues in a country and you have learned best practices, design programs, and you start to implement the programs, and you haven't made resources, financial resources, of course, available to sustain.
Of course, how would it be executed?
So, because even there's complementary education agency, formerly the non-formal education division, which is supposed to address these issues of literacy outside the school level among the adults and then the youth that are not in school. You look at the budgetary allocation to them and the expenditure over the years, they are hopefully receiving nothing because, for instance, in 20...
Do you have any figures you can share with us?
Yeah. In 2020, the allocation to the complementary education agency, formerly the non-formal education division, was 0.38% of the total education budget. In 2021, it was 0.3%, and 2022 again 0.3%, and in 2023 this year it declined to 0.26%. So this is what they have been receiving over the years, and if you are not even getting 1% of what you need of the education budget to even implement your CA program, it's quite difficult for you to ensure that you sustain such programs. So for us, we believe that we need to make resources available, financial resources, of course, for the programs that we've learned somewhere, bringing them into the country for them to run effectively. But again, having mentioned that, I must also commend the government for making 2.1 million available this particular year for the implementation of complementary education. This is commendable because when the CBE was run, it has always been donor-led. Over a decade ago, when that has been running, it has always been donor-led. And we implemented one strand from 2012 to 2018. When it ended, government was supposed to take the financial responsibility, but government has not been able to do that. So 2019, the donors had to still take over. 2020, still donors. And then donors were not ready to sponsor in 2021 and 2022. So within these 2 years, we didn't have any CB program. But this year, Ghana government has made available 2.1 million for the CB program to be implemented. That's why we need to commend government for such effort, although much is required. But the progress, the demonstration of the effort to commit resources to it is quite commendable.
All right. Let me bring in Richmond Edu Jemfi once more into the conversation. I don't know whether we have Dr. Anti with us. I don't think we do. All right, Dr. Peter Anti isn't ready yet. So I'll go back to Richmond Edu Jemfi, adult literacy manager.
Okay, Benjamin. Yeah.
Okay, that's Richmond, right? All right.
Yeah,
all right.
Benjamin, yeah.
So I just wanted to get to the point of those who haven't received formal education over the course of their lives, adult literacy, so to speak. Where are we in Ghana, and how much more of a focus should we putting on that, since that exactly is down your alley?
Yeah, what's it? Exactly. Yeah, thank you very much, Benjamin. I think this is one of the reasons why we believe in partnerships. Yeah. So CEA is there to monitor and guide, especially with the let me say, the NGOs to do the right thing. As Engage Now Africa, as I said earlier, 2014, we introduced the adult literacy. Yeah. And from that, we've been able to enroll over 13,000 of adult learners. Yeah. And out of it,
13,000.
13,000, yeah,
Right.
since 2014. Yeah, and graduated 7,000 of them. But one thing that we also looked at, because as I said earlier, we just don't want them to, because we know that when they learn how to read, they will be free, yeah. But we know that freedom wouldn't be complete. That was why in 2018, we had to even add the vocational skills to the training of our adults. And I would like to use this medium to even also plead with our men, because one thing I realized with our adult learners, about 80% of them are women, only 20 are men. And I'm sure Mr. Intim will also bear witness to that. I don't know what is happening with the men. I don't know whether it's because of our ego or not, but I know a lot of us.
The women are taking up the challenge.
Exactly. Maybe because I know one of our adult learners who is a man who wouldn't even join the women in class. I don't know whether it's shyness. So after the class, he would just see the facilitator privately, so that he would have his own, private class. Yeah, I'm telling you, and that's how patient some of our facilitators could be. They go the extra mile to even teach them that. So I think that is what is happening. But we believe in partnerships, because we can't do it all alone. So we need more, because there is this organization called United Way Ghana. United Way Ghana, they believe in children education so much, the CBA, and sometimes because they felt that, we are teaching these kids how to read and write, but their parents too must do something. So they will just partner with them, and it makes the work so easy, especially this International Literacy Day that we did. It was so easy because of the partnership we have with CEA, UNESCO, and everything. So I believe in partnerships so much. So when we partner, it becomes so easy for us to do so, because the adult learners, they are just there. And apart from learning how to read and write, I think they must be empowered with a skill, because if not, they wouldn't be interested. Because I think it was so boring for them when we started at first, because they felt that, we are coming to read and write. What next? After that, what next? Is it for us to just speak English? Is it but we know it's very, very important. That was how come we introduced the vocational skills. So they are empowered with these skills, and we do shoemaking, soap making of all kinds, baking, any skills of their preference, we are ready to do for them. Then after that, we even help them with a starter pack in forms of provision of materials and tools, everything so that they can start their own businesses and feed themselves, feed their children. And we know this will go a long way into making impact in individuals and family lives. And I think partnership here is very key, because it requires a lot of resources to get to them, because they are in the vulnerable areas.
Right.
A lot of them are there. Yeah.
I just have some follow-ups for you. So basically, the core components of the courses, you teach them literacy, how to read, how to write.
Right. Yeah, and then numeracy.
Numeracy, exactly.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
if you don't add numeracy skills to this, even when you polish them off and say, look, we want to introduce you to a skill, even the monetary aspect of it might be problematic. So you do that, and then you have the specific skills training depending on what they want to do.
Exactly. What they want to do. Yes.
You spoke about funding. How have you been able to fund it up to this point?
Yeah, that's why I said that we believe in partnership. When we partner to do it, it becomes so easy. I think United Way Ghana is one of our partners, and recently I think we partnered with MTN. MTN celebrated their yellow 21 yellow day, so they came to engage Now Africa, and we have to do it. It became easy because they wanted
came to you.
impart what they.
You did not even go to them. They came to you.
Oh, what we are saying is that because they know that we are service providers.
Okay. All right.
So what we partnered with them so that they can impart what they have even to our adult learners and even the youth who were invited, because we had this customer care training they gave them, digital literacy, which is also very difficult, especially for the adults. Some of them are holding smartphones, but they don't even know what to do with it. How they could even market their product, the skills that they have acquired, how they could market all those things, even social media, and use their phone to the best of their benefit. So partnership is key here because we can't do it all alone. We are an NGO. We have, people donate to it, but that's not sufficient. But when you partner, maybe this one could contribute a little. We could then, when we put them together, we can make great impact. So we believe in more of partnerships.
Thank you. Let me come to Mr. Ntim. Complementary education, it is crucial, just as this adult literacy bit that we're speaking of. In that space, what have you been doing, and what do you think moving forward can be done to sustain the efforts that we started on? We are not where we want to be. At least, thank God, we are not where we used to be, but there's still a lot to be done. From that end, what do you have to share with us?
Okay, Ben, thank you once again. And let me emphasize that Complementary Education Agency, we are responsible for out-of-school learning, right from the primary to tertiary. That is what our Act mandates us to do. And as I speak with you, we have programs, we have about four major programs that we are running to bridge the gap between those who are in school and those who are out of school.
What are they?
The first program that we are running has to do with the complementary basic education that Divine spoke about. That has to do with children who are out of school between the age of 8 to 16. We provide 9 months intensive learning in numeracy and literacy in local language, in the community where they find themselves, in their local language.
Right.
And we introduce the English language as a second language in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month to them. And at the end of the day, we assess them and we transition them to the formal school, either class 3 or class 4, based on the assessment that we do. But one of the alternatives, because previously, looking at their age bracket, somebody might be between the age of 14, 13, who wouldn't want to go back to the formal school way. But what alternative learning pathway do we have for such people? So we at Complementary Education have designed other programs by way of engaging them in a life skill training and development. We are partnering with TVET and CTVET to ensure after these people have been given let's say the skill, the literacy skill for 9 months.
Right.
What is the next stage for them? Yeah, so we engage them in this aspect, and at the end of the day, we enroll them to either TVET or other life skill. One of the alternative way also has to do with as I indicated, what learning pathway can we create for them? So going forward, what we're going to do as one of our learning pathway is to create our learning platform in such a way that such a person can continue on the non-formal way or the complementary education way through to senior high school. So basically, that is what we are doing for the complementary basic education. And now, as I speak with you, Divine mentioned that this year government committed 2.1 million for CBE. Yeah, that money was given to CEA, and we are implementing 5,000 learners in this space. And one program that we also run has to do with the remedial education program.
Right.
The remedial
I think the feed is frozen again. The connection is frozen again. Gentlemen, let's look at what we should be considering as our core targets moving forward, as government, as state agencies in the education sector, as private entities in the education sector? What should we be looking at moving forward to ensure that illiteracy, or our low levels of literacy, I should say, is brought to the barest minimum? I'll start with you, Divine.
All right, Ben. I think Richmond has set the tone for that, talking about partnership. Building partnership is very important because especially with the CSOs, they are on the ground. They know the communities very well, where the people are, those that are out of school, adults that do not have the basic skills when it comes to literacy. And they know them. So government needs to build a partnership with them to deliver literacy education. And we have seen that when it comes to the Ghana Education Outcome Project, government has currently, in partnership with School for Life, Street Child UK, and Plan International, they are delivering complementary education in some communities, and that is very helpful. We need to encourage government to build more of the partnership, identify more of the CSOs that are in the space, and commit resources to them to be able to go into the community to identify the people and help them out. And I also know that the CEA, the Complementary Education Agency, is developing resource mobilization strategy. Right. That's very important because at the end of the day, it's going to be about resources to deliver the program. So it's very important that steps are taken for that particular document to see the light of day, and then also should be implemented very well. The strategies, it has received a lot of consultation from different partners, including the CSOs, and I know that's a very rich document. If well implemented, resources can be made available to deliver CBA, and not just that, any other components of complementary education that the CEA has a responsibility to deliver. All
right, thank you, Divine. Let me come to you, Richmond. What would be your take on how we ought to move in the next few months, a year, years, to ensure that the targets that we are seeking to achieve on the score of literacy can be achieved?
Okay, thank you very much. So Benjamin, as I said earlier, I will just hammer on the fact that partnership is the way to go. Partnership is the way to. Government can do it all alone. The CSOs can't, but when we come together, that's when we can meet because it needs a lot of resources. Yeah. So we should just put our heads together, and it has to be inclusive, especially when it comes to the adult education. The community leaders, chiefs, political leaders, and all of them must come on board, so that we make sure that all the programs and policies, especially the ones from the government, could be, implemented well to just meet the targets that we've set for ourselves. So I will repeat that partnership is the way to go. Is the best way we can.
Partnership is the way to go. Let me just, out of curiosity, what are some of the entities that you are hoping would partner with you? I mean, you don't have to mention specific company names, but in which sectors are you hoping that people would, complement your work through partnership? Briefly on that.
Yeah, from my experience, I think that a lot of organizations are ready to help or sponsor education. Even the embassies, the embassies, they are there to do that. We have a lot of CSOs that I can't even mention names right now. But from the proposals that we write and those ones that come to us, a lot of organizations, both those in the education sector, they are all ready to help, frankly, because whenever we meet them and we talk about education, everyone would want, but I don't know, maybe is the fact that how to start is the problem. But as CEA, that's why I'm happy Mr. Intim is here. And we are very close. Our offices are close. Right. And we work together to make sure that this happens. Yeah.
All right. That's refreshing to hear. Emmanuel and Tim, you have the final word. I hope the connection is better now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Final words on that same, trajectory.
Okay, thank you. Like my brother indicated, we at the Complementary Education Agency believe in partnership and collaboration. So if we want to do all the activities, it will be impossible for us to do. So we need to bring all of them on board. So going forward, we have our policy and we have our policy and we have our strategic plan. And in the next few months, we're going to bring on board all stakeholders within the complementary education space, those NGOs and all those who matters when it comes to complementary education. We're bringing them to a round table to come up with strategies that can help us reduce this number of non-literate youth and adults in the country, because we see this as a critical thing that we don't have to joke about. So very soon, all plans are in place to bring all of them on board. And like he indicated, we've started the collaboration and partnership with them. And we're going to see how best we can extend to other people, because as we speak, we have other NGOs like Luminous and other people who are also doing very well in the CBE arena. So we are going to bring all of them as an umbrella, and as an agency responsible for complementary, we will see how best we can regulate all these NGOs so that they all come on board.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having joined the conversation. We were hoping to have been joined by the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, but unfortunately, he couldn't join us. All the same, we had Richmond Edujemfi, Adult Literacy Manager, Engage Africa, Emmanuel Ntim. You just heard him, Acting Executive Director, Complementary Education Agency, and of course, in the studio, Divine Quest, Senior Programs Officer, Africa Education Watch. This has been our conversation on literacy on the back of International Literacy Day. And of course, the conversation continues. We take a breather. We'll be back with more on the AM show. Don't go anywhere.